got the pressure to do a book, which I felt I wasn't ready to do.
You weren't ready to divulge, were you?
Not at all. So I wrote Just a Geek when I was like 26 or 27. And
wow, so this follow-up's 20-something years later.
It's 18 and a half years later.
Wow.
And I am so grateful to my editor, David Pomerico at Morrow, because David, we submitted a manuscript. My agent and I submitted a manuscript that I had written for a fictional, semi-autobiographical fictional story. And I knew that this book needed something. I didn't know what it was. I knew that it wasn't quite complete. And I was like, if I can find an editor who wants to work on this together, this is going to be a cool story. I know it. And nobody really wanted to do that. But David was like, I really liked Just a Geek. And I recently reread it. And I've been listening to you now. And you're such a different person. Just look at it and see if you would want to go back and annotate it and revisit it and like finish that story, which was started and left incomplete 18 years ago.
Did you feel like it was incomplete? Is that somebody, or hearing that from someone?
I was like, oh my God, you're right. I didn't know that it was incomplete until I sat down to do it. So I sat down and I started annotating it, right?
Right.
And immediately I'm like, oh my God, dude, you make a stupid homophobic joke because it's like a lazy high school joke, right? And I had to annotate that and immediately talk about like why that is not okay now. It wasn't okay then. Why younger me thought it was
taking
okay.
responsibility for
and
your
why,
actions.
and why it's like really gross and offensive, right?
Right.
Then I get into like, oh my God, I just turned like, I just took this woman who's like doing her job and I made her a punchline because it makes me the hero of the story. And I was like, that's not okay either. And it's lazy writing. It's bad writing. So I annotated that. Then I got to a place where and I don't remember specifically what it was, but I got to a place where I read what was in the original Just a Geek. And I got to the end of like that paragraph or that chapter or whatever. And I knew all of this was happening because I desperately wanted my dad to notice me. Wow. And I need to talk about that. And I started writing about that. And then I started writing about all the other things I held back. And I kind of revisited all of this stuff. And there's moments in that book, things that were massively consequential at the time that they happened, like, you know, kind of almost getting a job that I had completely forgotten about. Auditions that were like, I worked so hard to prep the auditions and then the auditions were awful. Like, you know, you work really hard. I don't know how long it's been since you had to audition, but like, do you remember you work really hard to prep a role and you feel good about it? They're like, here's 6 scenes. You prep all of them. You go in, they don't care that you're there and you start and they go, oh, we're only doing the first scene. Why the fuck did I prep 6 scenes if we're only doing the first scene? I'm like, look, man, just tell me the truth. We cast this yesterday and we didn't want to cancel the session. You know, like, cool. Yep. I'm here. Like, this is what I look like. This is what I sound like. Maybe you keep me in mind for something else, but don't put me through this.
Yeah,
right?
That happens a lot.
Yep. So, and I was just like, I hate this. And I hate that I had to act my whole life like it's awesome. You know, like, well, you just got to keep on going. And I was like, no, it's bullshit and it sucks and I hate it. And I started telling that part of the story. And then in the process of doing all of this, I was simultaneously doing a lot of therapy and a lot of academic research into childhood trauma and how it affects the developing childhood brain. And I began to very clearly see what a traumatic childhood I really had.